Video is a wonderful medium that can be used very powerfully within education. However, if we just give videos to a learner, unless it's a really good quality educational video, quite often not much learning actually takes place because it's still quite passive. They're just sat there kind of absorbing the video. If we get the learners to do something with the video, that makes the video into a much more powerful learning activity. And one of the simplest ways of doing that is to turn a video into a discussion-based activity. So they have to watch the video, think about a particular question, which they then answer as part of a discussion, and then other students in the group will contribute to that discussion. And this video will go through the process of how we do that. Now, the first thing we have to do is locate our video. Now, I've already found one. In this case, I'm actually using one of my own videos, but it doesn't have to be one of your own. It can be any of the other videos that are on YouTube. And once you've found the video, underneath, we're looking for this share button. It gives us a whole variety of options, but what we want is the one that's called embed. So I click on embed, and that there is what's called the embed code. So we're going to come back to that in a moment, but that's what we're going to be using very shortly. I'm just going to go to a different tab and I'm going to go into my Moodle course and I'm going to turn editing on. And what we're going to do in the section where we want it to appear, we're going to add an activity or resource and we're going to add a forum. So in this case, my forum appears there. So we're going to give the forum a name. Oops, can't spell. And then in the description box, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding the text, the question that we want the students to think about, and then we will add the YouTube video. Now, just for speed, I'm just going to copy and paste in my text. You would probably type that in directly. And then what we need to do is we need to embed the video. Now, the embed option, we need to find a button that looks a little bit like that, which when you hover over it is Edit HTML Source. Now, for me, it appears on the top row of icons. If it's not on the top row of icons for you, you may have to click on an icon that looks like that to expand other rows, but somewhere in your editor there should be a button that looks like that. So we click on it, and what it's doing is it's showing us the actual HTML code that creates the page. In this case, it's quite simple. It's just text. It might be more complicated if you've got other things in there. So I'm going to come back to my YouTube page, and I'm just copying, so Control C for copy, that embed code that's highlighted blue. I'm going to come into this page, and after my question, I'm going to paste. I'm going to update, and what you should see is your video should appear embedded underneath the question. Now what we need to do now is just go through and think about the settings that we want to make this work. Do I want the description to display on the course page? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. In this case, I'm going to have it as a no, so you have to actually click on the activity and go into it to see the items. It's going to be a standard forum for general use. I'll expand all and we'll just quickly go through what the settings are. You could specify the dates when it's available if you wanted, and you can open and close them. I'm just going to leave them open all the time. Do we want them to add attachments to the actual thing? Well, I don't really want to, so I'm going to just make that 0. If it was another forum where you did want attachments, then you can specify the numbers and the file size limits, and you can also display a word count if you wanted to. Now, subscription and tracking is whether the learners will get emails sent to them as and when people post. There are 4 options. If you go for forced, that means that everybody will get emails and they can't change that. It's forced upon them. If you go for subscription disabled, that means that there are no emails and they can't turn them on even if they want them. So those two are the very kind of unchangeable options. You then have the auto and optional, which is where the student is in control of whether they do or don't get emails. If you go for optional, then they won't get an email initially, but they can subscribe to the forum at any time And usually when they post, it will suggest that they get subscribed at that point. Whereas with auto, they will get emails from the off, but they have the option of unsubscribing if they want to. So usually for this sort of thing, you would either want auto or optional. And the only difference between the two is with auto, the subscription is initially turned on, but they can turn it off. With optional, the subscription is initially turned off, but they can turn it on. So choose which of those is relevant. You might as well leave the read tracking as optional. It basically shows a student which posts they've read or not read. I don't see the point of turning that off, so I always leave that on as optional. You can do things like locking discussions after periods of inactivity, and you can add blocking thresholds. Now, blocking thresholds is where you can stop somebody from posting too many times within a certain period of time. Generally speaking, we're trying to encourage people to post. It's only if you have somebody that is posting lots of stuff ridiculously and it's destroying the discussion that you might limit the amount that they can block. I'm going to leave it as not blocked. If you were going to grade their responses, we'd enter some of the grading options. I'm not going to touch on that in this video here. We'll leave that for the moment. So both grades and ratings, we're going to leave as is. If you have groups in the course, you just need to think whether you want it to be separate groups, so each group has their own discussion, or whether you want everybody on the course to see the discussion, in which case you might choose no groups. And you've got the usual restriction access if you want to sort of set that they can't restrict it unless they're in a certain group, or they can't access it unless they're in a certain group, or if they have to do a certain activity before they do this one. Usual sort of restrictions are available there. But with the activity completion, I am going to turn this on. So we're going to track that the students have done something. So I'm going to change it to show activity as complete when conditions are met. And then I'm going to decide what conditions I want. I don't need them to view it, but I'm going to choose that they must post one discussion or one reply as the criteria. So as long as they make a contribution, either starting a new thread or replying to somebody else's thread, then this will get marked as complete. And you've got different options that you could apply here. And save and display. So this is what the learners will see. They've got the question, they've got the video, it's got the button saying add a new discussion topic. So they would add that, they'd give it a subject, they'd put in the message, and then they would post a forum to answer the question that you've asked. And then other learners coming in will be able to see that and reply to it, comment on it, etc. I'm Dave Foord. If you wish to get in touch, then please look at my contact details on the screen. I'm based in the UK, but I work with organisations all over the globe, providing consultancy, training and resource development services, mainly in the areas of Moodle and Tatara.